Ed Gowrine supporters are throwing a last-minute smear campaign against Thomas Massie, hoping to beat him in the primary next week, and they're using Thomas Massie's ex-girlfriend Cynthia West to do the attack. So a lot of the media outlets and everything that I've seen so far are representing this as though there was some type of potential sexual or physical abuse or something like that. But the best reporting that I found, best article I found to kind of shine light on what's going on is this Substack from the Liberty Sentinel written by Alex Newman. And West is quoted in the article. They reached out to Cynthia West, and it says, Massie simply was not respectful, West revealed, but he did not assault her sexually or physically, period. To make matters crystal clear, when pressed again by the Liberty Sentinel on whether Massie sexually or physically abused her, West stated bluntly, no. So what this all comes down to is West and Massie were dating right after Massie's wife had died, and she started working for Indiana Representative Victoria Spartz, who is a friend of Thomas Massie. And Cynthia West isn't some like outsider to the world of politics. She used to also work for Florida Congressman Tom Rooney, and she's currently running for the Okaloosa County School Board in her home state of Florida. So West was working for Spartz's office, and she had a problem with some of Spartz's hiring practices. They also had some disagreements and arguments about going to church. But either way, West did not like working for Spartz. She didn't like her hiring practices of using immigrant labor, like people that were in the process of applying for green cards and things like that. So West filed an ethics complaint against Representative Spartz, not against Massie. Massie is listed as a witness. He's not. There was no complaint filed against Thomas Massie. There's no record of that. And so they're trying to twist this whole thing around, and West is claiming, it's basically an unsubstantiated claim, that Massie had offered her some money to drop the ethics complaint against Victoria Spartz. Now, see, here's the thing. Cynthia West isn't the only person that's had a problem with Victoria Spartz. She was ranked in 2022 as one of the worst bosses on Capitol Hill. And Cynthia West was let go after allegedly failing her probationary period because she didn't get along with Representative Spartz. So that all kind of makes sense. So she files a complaint with the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights, again, against Spartz, not against Massie. But they're really trying to spin this up as though Massie did something, even though there's absolutely no evidence or anything of the sort against Thomas Massie. And the funny thing is that this is really being pushed by three of Massie's former primary opponents, that he beat all of them, and that's Mark Carey, Todd McMurtry, and Eric Dieters. All these guys are attorneys here in Kentucky. And Eric Dieters, I made a video about this guy a couple months ago, where he said, Thomas Massie's in the Epstein files, and he just laughs and says, you got to love it. And that was his, it was supposed to be like some big I exposed Thomas Massie for being in the Epstein files. Well, then I went to the Department of Justice website that was hosting all of the Epstein files, and I looked it up, and there's 19 different articles where Thomas Massie's name is mentioned. And if you look on every single one of them, they're news articles that have to do with the Epstein investigation. And they're all about Thomas Massie pushing for the release of the Epstein files. Unless maybe Eric Dieters knows that there's, bad stuff about Thomas Massie and the other millions of documents that the Trump administration is still not releasing. So that's who's pushing this smear campaign. It's former opponents of Thomas Massie and current supporters of Ed Gowrine. And if you can't look at the release of this, information and this whole effort for accountability, as some people are claiming, they're saying, we just want to hold him accountable. Well, why was this sat on until the week before the election? Oh, maybe because there is no validity to it, and if people had enough time to look into this, they would say, these are all bogus accusations, and nothing would come of it. But no, you want to do it at the last minute, especially once early voting is starting, so you can try to sway and influence voters. And it's dirty politics, typical politics. So don't fall for the smear campaign. Voters of the 4th Congressional District of Kentucky, you're smarter than that. You're better than that. Support a true constitutionalist representative, Thomas Massie, and don't support Ed Gowrain. That guy won't even have a debate. He won't answer questions. The guy's just going to be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump. And that's not what we need. That's not what we need at all. We need true statesmen. We need representatives, not politicians. So vote for Thomas Massie. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment.